Why is it that the sharpest minds, the ones capable of seeing through the illusions, are so often cast aside, ridiculed, silenced, or worse, forgotten? You've felt this pressure, haven't you, to stay quiet, to keep your thoughts to yourself. Some ideas aren't rejected because they're wrong. They're rejected because they're dangerous. Not dangerous in a violent sense, but dangerous to society. You know that when you speak up, when you reveal what others refuse to see, you risk everything. But that's the point, isn't it? Power doesn't work because it's right. It works because everyone believes it's right. And the moment you expose that belief as a lie, the system of fragile society built on half-truths starts to crack. And if you've ever felt that you're the target, sidelined for thinking too deeply, for questioning too much, you are not alone. There was a man who lived over 500 years ago, a man whose name became synonymous with manipulation and deceit. But that's not who he truly was. Niccolò Machiavelli was not a monster. He was a seer, a mind who saw the world for what it was and dared to write it down. And for that, they exiled him. This is not just his story. It's a story about what happens when society meets an uncomfortable truth, about why brilliance is not always rewarded, but feared. He told the truth, and they called him a villain. What if the world treats minds like yours the same way? Not because you're wrong, but because you're right. You're not a villain. You're just someone who sees too clearly. Imagine yourself living in a world where every conversation, every interaction, feels like a subtle battle for dominance. You are Niccolò Machiavelli, not just a thinker, but someone who has observed human relationships at their rawest, where trust is fragile and everyone is playing a game. You're not a philosopher sitting in an ivory tower. You're someone who has lived through betrayals, manipulations, and deceit, all in the pursuit of being in this society. People speak of you as you're just an existence, but at your core, you've always been an observer of people. The way they act, the way they hide their true selves behind masks, the way they bend their truths to fit into the expectations of others. But then, betrayal strikes. You are accused of being disloyal, betrayed by those you trusted most. You are tortured, exiled, left to reflect on what has just happened. It's in this exile that you write The Prince. At first glance, it looks like a cynical playbook for controlling others. But it's not about manipulation. It's a deep dive into the uncomfortable truths about how humans interact with one another, how fear often governs relationships more than love, how perception often matters more than reality. You're trying to show the world that our social systems are built on illusions, that the masks people wear are designed to protect them from vulnerability, and yet they trap them in a never-ending cycle of deceit. The world doesn't want to hear this. They call you weird, a manipulator. They reject you, not because you're wrong, but because the truths you expose make them confront their own fear of being seen for who they truly are. You've probably noticed it before. When someone comes along and challenges the way people think, when they ask questions that make others uncomfortable, society reacts with one thing: rejection. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about the fear of having to confront uncomfortable truths. Why does this happen? Why do we instinctively push away those who question the system, those who expose the lies we live by? The answer lies in something called cognitive dissonance. It's that feeling you get when something doesn't match up with what you already believe. It's uncomfortable, and when something is uncomfortable, the human reflex is to reject it. So when someone comes along with ideas that expose the flaws in the system, the instinct is to push them away. Plato's allegory of the cave is a perfect example. Imagine you've spent your entire life in the dark, chained to the ground, only seeing shadows on the wall. Then one day, someone breaks free and walks out into the light. They return to tell you what they've seen, but you don't believe them. You think they're crazy, dangerous even. They've seen too much. They've broken the rules. You're not ready for the truth, and so you reject them. This is exactly what happens to people who think differently, who challenge the way things are. We see it all around us today, from whistleblowers to dissident artists, thinkers, or even radical scientists. In the beginning, they're mocked, ignored, even punished. It's only later, sometimes after their voices are stifled or they've been silenced, that their ideas are recognized as revolutionary. You've seen it in history, We praise Galileo now, but we burned his kind back then. You've seen it in your own life too, haven't you? When you spoke up, when you tried to point out the flaws in the system, did you feel the cold sting of rejection? That's because truth is dangerous, and society, as much as it claims to value truth, is terrified of it. If this video speaks to you, if you've ever felt the weight of what it means to think differently, I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt misunderstood for the way you think? How did you handle it? Share it in the comments. Let's step back for a moment and think about society. How does it really work? How do the systems that govern our lives stay intact? The answer lies in the psychology of conformity. It's not just about who is right or wrong. It's about how everyone plays along. The system needs everyone to stay in line. If one person steps out of line, if one person dares to challenge the structure, everything starts to unravel. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. His ideas about leadership weren't just cynical observations. They were truths about human nature. People are governed by fear, not love. Leaders manipulate perception, not reality. And in a world where fear governs everything, exposing these truths is not just dangerous, it's revolutionary. This is why his ideas were so threatening. They weren't just about power. They were about revealing the invisible forces that control society. And that's why you too are dangerous. Because once you understand how power really works, you can't unsee it. And that's something the system cannot afford. So ask yourself, if you knew how the society really worked, how would you see it? Would you still trust the people, or would you see them for what they truly are? You may not realize it, but you're surrounded by modern-day Machiavellis. These are the people who see the world differently, who dare to challenge the systems you've grown up with. People like Edward Snowden, whistleblowers, radical scientists, dissident artists, individuals who in their time have been ridiculed, persecuted, or even exiled. They've tried to open eyes to truths the world isn't ready to see, and because of it, they've paid the price. The world responds the same way it always has. First, they are mocked. Their ideas are labeled as extreme, dangerous, untrustworthy. But over time, the truth begins to seep through. The system they tried to expose can no longer hold its shape, and suddenly the very people who once rejected them begin to recognize their brilliance. This cycle repeats itself over and over. Those who challenge the status quo are initially punished, not because they're wrong, but because their ideas threaten the foundations of power, comfort, and control. It's a tragic loop. The system needs disruption, but it fears it at the same time. It can't survive without the challenge, but it can't allow that challenge to survive. You've seen this play out, haven't you? The ideas you've shared with friends, the questions you've raised at work, or the purpose you've poured your soul into. How often have you been told you were being too extreme, too radical, maybe even dismissed as naive or dangerous? The truth is, you don't have to be a Machiavelli to feel the sting of marginalization. Just being curious, skeptical, or creative is enough. And that's precisely what makes you dangerous. The very things that make you question the world around you, that make you challenge its false narratives, are the same things that the world is terrified of. You're not alone in this. The systems you face today have been built to crush those who challenge them. But the real question is, how will you respond? Will you let the system silence you, or will you follow the path of those who have dared to speak the uncomfortable truths? There are moments when you feel completely disconnected, like you're walking through a world where no one understands you, and no one even wants to understand you. It's not because you're broken, it's because you see too much. The things you think, the ideas that form in your mind, are often too big, too complex for the world around you to process, and that leaves you feeling like an outsider. Have you ever had that feeling, like you're standing on the edge of something vast, something beautiful, but everyone else is too caught up in the noise of everyday life to see it? It's a kind of existential loneliness. You try to express what's on your mind, but the words fall flat. The world just doesn't seem to have room for what you have to offer. This is the inner war of genius. The brilliance you carry within you isn't a gift in the way the world sees it. It's a burden. It's the curse of being able to see the patterns, the truth, the uncomfortable realities that most people can't or won't acknowledge. It's the curse of knowing that the world is flawed, that its systems are built on lies, and that the people around you are complicit in keeping those lies intact. And yet, every time you speak up, every time you try to share what's in your heart and mind, you're met with resistance. There's a kind of existential dread that comes with this, a feeling of being unworthy or like you're constantly battling the imposter syndrome. You begin to wonder if the world is right, if maybe you are the one who's wrong. But here's the truth. Your mind is not your enemy. The discomfort, the alienation, the isolation you feel are not signs that you're broken. They are signs that you see too clearly. You're seeing the world the way it really is. And that's terrifying to those around you. It's not you who needs to change, it's the world. So when you feel like you're losing the battle, like you're the only one who understands what's really going on, remember this: you are not alone. There are others like you scattered throughout history who walked the same lonely path. And in time, they were the ones who shaped the future. It's ironic, isn't it? You look at the history of those who were once rejected, once exiled, and now their ideas are the very foundation upon which the world stands. Think of Machiavelli, his exile, his disgrace. And yet today, world leaders, CEOs, revolutionaries, and scholars all turn to his work for guidance. The world rejected him because he dared to see the uncomfortable truths about power, about fear, and about the systems that govern society. They cast him aside, silenced his voice, and punished him for his clarity. But in time, they had no choice but to recognize his brilliance. This is the paradox of time. Those who are vilified in the moment are often seen as prophets in retrospect. The very people who challenge society's narratives, who expose the lies we cling to, are eventually celebrated, but only after their deaths or after they've been exiled, erased, or silenced. Think about the artists, the thinkers, the scientists, the writers, and the philosophers who were dismissed in their time but are now recognized as pioneers. They had to endure the pain of being misunderstood, of being ostracized, all while seeing the future more clearly than anyone else. The path of the misunderstood is never easy, and it's never quick. It's a lonely road, often filled with doubts, resistance, and isolation. But there is hope. Your mind, your brilliance, your willingness to ask the hard questions, these are the things that will define tomorrow. You may not see it now. You may feel like your thoughts are being drowned out by the noise of the world. But know this: your mind is a beacon. The future will find its way to you, even if it's years from now. You might be punished today, but you will echo long for years. So here you are, standing on the edge, just like Machiavelli once did. You're staring into the abyss of society's expectations, questioning everything that everyone else takes for granted. You know the truth is uncomfortable. You know that speaking it will cost you. You know that challenging the world's false narratives could isolate you, punish you, even exile you. But here's the real question. Will you hide your mind to fit in? Will you silence your thoughts to be accepted? Or will you risk it all, the same way those before you did, to speak the truth that others won't? You don't have to look far to see the consequences of silence. You've seen the social media mobs, the corporate pressures, the cultural forces that push everyone to conform. The price of fitting in is steep. But what happens if you refuse to stay quiet? What happens if you choose to stand alone, like the great thinkers who've come before you? What happens when you choose to stay true to yourself, no matter the cost? It won't be easy. The world is designed to crush you when you question it. But your mind is powerful. Your ideas are worth protecting. And your voice is not for everyone to recognize. Remember this: the world fears minds like yours. It always has. But that doesn't mean you should be afraid to use them. The choice is yours. Will you embrace the exile, or will you risk everything to be a true human, true soul, true reality? Throughout history, this pattern repeats. Socrates was executed for corrupting the youth, or more accurately, for making them think. Galileo was forced to recant his discoveries because they disrupted religious doctrine. Even in modern times, whistleblowers, scientists, artists, and thinkers are routinely discredited when their ideas challenge powerful interests. What makes it worse is that the mechanisms of social rejection are often subtle. A brilliant child might be told to stop asking so many questions. A visionary employee might be excluded from meetings for being too idealistic. A creative thinker might be ridiculed for pursuing unconventional paths. The message is always the same. You don't belong here. You make us uncomfortable. Please shrink. And over time, many brilliant minds do just that. They shrink. They hide. They downplay their abilities just to feel accepted. But this suppression comes at a cost, not just to the individual, but to society as a whole. When we discourage brilliance, we delay progress. We halt innovation. We stifle the very energy that could move us forward. Of course, not every form of intelligence is feared. Society embraces brilliance when it's packaged neatly, when it serves economic interests, stays in line, or doesn't challenge authority. We love tech geniuses who build apps, but we ignore philosophers who ask why those apps exist in the first place. We reward intelligence that feeds capitalism, but we often punish intelligence that critiques it. This is why the most dangerous kind of brilliance, and therefore the most rejected, is the kind tied to vision. The kind that sees 10 steps ahead, that notices patterns in human behavior, flaws in governance, or truths about power. It's this kind of mind that is most feared because it doesn't just observe, it reveals. And revelation threatens those who benefit from illusion. Brilliant people are often years, sometimes decades, ahead of their time. And because society moves slowly, those with vision are often labeled as misfits. Only later, once their ideas prove true, are they celebrated. But by then, the damage has often been done. They've been exiled, broken, silenced, or forgotten. This is the paradox. The very minds that could elevate society are the ones most likely to be sidelined by it. And not because they've failed, but because they've succeeded too early in seeing what others refuse to see. So if you've ever felt this resistance, this pushback for being too thoughtful, too curious, too insightful, it's not because you're wrong, it's because your clarity threatens comfort, and comfort is the lifeblood of conformity. Brilliance will always face resistance, but that resistance is not proof of failure. It's proof that you're seeing what others cannot or will not yet face. And that means you're doing something right. This is for the ones who never felt like they belonged. The ones who were told they think too much, feel too deeply, or ask too many questions. Here's the truth. The world needs you. Desperately. Your mind is not a mistake. Your intensity is not a defect. Your ability to see what others ignore is not a curse. It's a compass, one that points toward change, growth, and truth. But compasses only work if you follow them, so follow it. You were not born to fit into a system designed for mediocrity. You were born to challenge it, to question it, to reimagine it. That comes with pain, yes, but also with power. The power to shape culture, inspire others, and ignite revolutions, even quiet ones. Your value isn't determined by how well others understand you. It's determined by the strength of your mind and the courage of your convictions. Let them call you difficult. Let them call you strange. Let them say you don't belong. And then prove that you do, not by shrinking, but by expanding. Not by conforming, but by creating. Surround yourself with others who get it. They're out there, scattered, searching, waiting for someone like you to speak up. You don't need a crowd to be powerful. You just need to be true. This is your manifesto. Think boldly, feel deeply, resist conformity, protect your light, even when it's not understood. And if the world tries to exile you, wear it like a crown, because history remembers those who stood alone, not those who blended in. If this video spoke to you, if you've ever felt the weight of what it means to think differently, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Have you ever felt misunderstood for the way you think? How did you handle it? And if you want more thought-provoking content like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Let's keep this conversation going, because it's time for more minds like yours to be heard.